Good evening and welcome to Cohoes City School District Board of Education meeting tonight, March 19th. Meeting is going to be called to order at 6:03 p.m. Emergency exits, the two beside me here and the one that you came in, we would meet out front. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jackson.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Mrs. Gendron.
Here.
Mrs. Paradis.
Here.
Mr. Droz.
Here.
And Mrs. Geller.
I'm here. I'd like to welcome you all, but this time I'll turn it over to Superintendent O'Shea for our district.
Thank you and welcome, everyone. Doesn't the pledge just sound so much better when you have a group of students saying it? Music to my ears. I'm going to have Principal Laura Tarlow introduce Mr.
Next Thursday, we are very excited to have our opening night of our annual high school musical. And this year we are having a Disney performance of Descendants the musical. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Gunn and our drama club team that's going to perform a little something.
Yeah.
A little teaser trailer.
Well, hi, everyone.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
We're always excited to see you.
We're very excited to be here this year. With the last couple of years, we routinely talk with the kids about both in drama club, with in my theater class as well, about kind of the importance of theater of all scopes, whether it's theater with a focus on like the meaning of the story, and then theater with a focus on entertainment. And how that can kind of appeal to different crowds. And so this year we wanted to do a show that was a little bit more universally appealing to all community members of all ages. And we're very, very excited to be presenting Descendants this year. It is a show that we've had in our sights for a little while. And we've kind of been looking forward to doing. I think it took a little bit of winning over at the beginning of the year, but I think they're officially on our side that this was a good idea. So for those of you who don't know Descendants, Descendants is the entire story, as kind of the title suggests, of the descendants of four of the major villains of the kind of the Disney universe. We have Brunhilde, Maleficent, Jafar, and Cruella de Vil. Their four children. It's in a world where kind of those marked as evil have been sent to an entire separate place called the Isle of the Lost, separate from the good place, the Royal Kingdom of Auradon. So the first number I'm going to have them do for you is the opening number of the show, actually, and this is our first glimpse into the Isle of the Lost and meeting what the script refers to as the evils, who are reverse. So this way, and then you have to like fill this way with pictures. Yeah, and we're specifically presenting our four evils, who are the main four evil villainous children. Yes, okay. All right.
Step back. Stop that. Wicked world.
They say I'm trouble. They say I'm bad. They say I'm evil. That makes me glad. A dirty nowhere, down to the bone. Your worst nightmare. Can't take me home. So I got some mischief in my blood. Can you blame me? I never got no love.
Saying I'm unlawful, you probably should. I feel so awful, misunderstood.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the baddest of them all? Welcome to my wicked world. Wicked world, I'm rotten to the core. Rotten to the core. I'm rotten to the core. Could ask for more. I'm nothing like the kid that's nothing in next door. I'm rotten to the core. I'm rotten to the core.
Call me a I'm innocent. What's my hands give me? What needs paper? Ain't got your back? Are we not friends? What's up with that? So I'm a misfit. So I'm a flirt. I'm fine. You're welcome.
The past, past. Forgive, forget. The truth is,
You wasting nothing yet. I'm riding to the core. Riding to the core. I'm riding to the core. I'm to the core.
on
I'm to like the king. It's like the king of song. To the core. I'm riding to the core.
That's part of our opening. Stories and classic Disney redemption arc where the soon-to-be king of Oregon, Ben, the son of the Beast, has this brilliant plan in his, ascending to the throne of inviting some of the evils from the Isle of the Lost to Oregon in order to prove that good can be done even to evils. And though they hatch a plan to, cause havoc when they arrive in the Royal Kingdom. I don't want to spoil too much of it for those of you who've not seen the movie, between 1 and 1,000,000 times, depending on how old potential children may or family members may be. This is, we see this change and this mischief and this magic. We're gonna jump ahead a little bit to a moment where a love spell has been cast on Ben, the prince, and he is declaring his love to Mal, the daughter of the land.
My heart's all aflutter, my brains turn to butter, my forehead is bathed in sweat.
How you feeling, bro?
My knees are quiver, I shake and I shiver, my stomach's a bit upset. I try, but I find that I can't clear my mind. She's all that I'm thinking of. I confess, I'm a mess. I'm completely obsessed. Give me an M. Give me an A. Give me an L. What's that spell? Did I mention that I'm in love? Did I mention that I'm in love with you? And did I mention there's nothing I can do? And did I happen to say I dream of you every day? And then I shout, if that's okay. If that's okay. I'm at the school who rocked my world like it's never been rocked. And now I'm living just for her and I will never stop. I never thought that it could happen to a guy like me. Well, now look at what you've done. You got me down on my knees. Cause my love for you is ridiculous. I never knew that it could be like this. My love for you is... My love is RIDICULOUS. It's just... And I would give my king up with just one kiss.
One kiss, huh? Fine. Chad's my boyfriend now, and I'm going to the ceremony with him, so I don't need your pity, Jason.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've gotta know which way to go. Come on, give me a sign. You gotta show me that you're only ever gonna be mine. Don't wanna go another minute without you. And if your heart just isn't in it, I don't know. Cause my love for you is ridiculous. I never knew that it would be like this. My love for you is ridiculous. My love is RIDICULOUS. It's just ridiculous. And I would give my king up for just one kiss. Come on now. Yeah.
All right. So we are very excited. It's been a really, really, really fun process. We are still in the midst of getting everything ready. I know a couple of us are on our way back right after this to continue painting and getting the sets ready and things, and we're very, very excited for everything they've been doing. It is bound to be an incredible show that I truly think anybody of any age will love. We have shows this upcoming, this next week on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 27th through 30th. If you have any younger family members or friends, we're doing a special, an event we haven't done before on Sunday, just prior to our 2 o'clock show. At 11:30 in the high school cafeteria, we're doing like a hot pancake French toast stick breakfast for any kids who want to come and like meet the cast and be served by the cast members and meet all of the characters that they've seen in the movies before. So we're very excited. It's been something that we've been working on for a really long time, and I think you guys have caught on and are enjoying it. All right.
I'd like to say thank you very much. It takes a lot of courage for you guys to get up here, and you know, this is not the stage, but you know, we appreciate
And it's really
smaller venue.
Yeah.
No, you're cracking, but thank you so much. I'm excited. I can't wait to see it. I think your English teachers are going to be proud. You can all spell, so that's.
And we will, of course, have complimentary tickets available for all of you at the door with your names. If you want to give us your names, we'll have those prepped for you so that you can come in and see the show that you have let me build a chaotic program to this point and continue to put up with our shenanigans. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Great job.
Great job.
Say thank you, Steve, for all the time that you put in, and your assistant directors, Bert and Ms. Scott, I saw them here somewhere. We know how much work it takes, so.
Thank you. And like I said, truly, thank you for letting me do what I do, because I know it's complicated. I appreciate you all regardless, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point in time, I'm going to call up another Mr. Cuno. Now you have to follow that.
You have the same moves?
So our athletic director, Jeff Cuno, is here to give a brief athletic update. And then I know we have some questions that.
Sure. Evening, everybody. I just wanted to start first with the bowling team, our girls bowling team. They won the Class B Division II, just Class B sectional championship back in like mid-February, just before vacation, which then allowed them to go on to the state championships, which were just this past Sunday. They finished 7th in the state out of 10 schools in Division II. They bowled above their average by about 180 spins, so that was good for them. They're very young, and it was kind of a surprise, sort of in a way, for them to be there this year. We thought it might be a couple years, but they have some young bowlers on there. Alexis Yondo made the composite team, which is basically an all-star team. The top bowlers at sectionals then go on and represent our section against all the other sections a couple days prior to the actual state championships. And our section won it, Section 2 won it, and Alexis was part of that team. Aubrey Peterson finished 7th in high series for the state on the state championships, and Alexis Yondo finished 11th in the high series. So they had a great Sunday out there. Our unified bowling team had a great season as well. A lot of fun. They enjoyed themselves, and it's fun to watch, just like unified basketball coming up. The teamwork and the camaraderie between the partners and their teammates is pretty good. Winter Scholar Athletes was just posted too. We had boys indoor track, boys bowling, cheerleading, girls basketball, and girls bowling were all Scholar Athlete teams. That means 75% of their roster was averaged together to be 90 or above. And then every sport can have any student above 90 themselves is an individual Scholar Athlete, and they get a pin, and we posted all that stuff as well in the last day or so. Indoor track, Yassine Osmani was a sectional champion at the indoor track sectionals for Division III. He won the 600 meter. So those are some of the highlights from the winter. And I know we're moving on to spring. This week started spring sports at the high school. And as you can imagine, today was a great day for them to be outside. Our coaching staffs are pretty much solidified. Our baseball program. That was the one coach we were looking for, a modified baseball coach, and we were able to find somebody last week, and he's diligently working on his credentials so he can start next week. Other than that, every position has been filled for the spring, which is really good. Outdoor track, this is the first time we've had a full staff in quite some time now, because there's 2 head coaches and 2 assistants. It was always difficult to find that one extra assistant coach. They're in a tryout stage, most of them. Some of the sports will take on everybody pretty much. But the numbers are pretty good. JV and varsity baseball have 31 kids between the 2, JV and varsity. We lump them together, and the coaches obviously pick the teams based on ability. Modified has 24 signed up. Softball, JV and girls varsity have 26 between them, and modified has 27 signed up. And modified baseball and softball start on Monday. Girls lacrosse has 12. We're looking to add a few more girls to that team. I made a post today. If any girls were interested, try to recruit for that team a little bit. Outdoor track numbers are exploding. Boys are at 52 and girls are at 36. So between the 2 programs, almost near 90 kids, which will require us to have 2 buses to every meet. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Esports has 12 members of their team right now. And then Unified Basketball, we just actually had information from Unified this morning that they can start practice April 7th. So we'll be posting signups for that as well. I think that's all I have to you to report. And do you have any questions?
So before questions, I know that there were some questions about the readiness of the softball field. So I thought Stacy, Jeff, if you can stay here, Stacy
Sure.
has a bit of a update on that, and then you can add to it. And then if there's other questions.
Yeah, so the infield was turned over to us late last week. There is a punch list of items that need to be worked on. So internally, we'll have a walkthrough this week of the field to see what items we need to get ready for the first game, which is April 3rd. The improvements that are scheduled for the outfield aren't scheduled until the summer. So there's not going to be any change in the outfield, but that is scheduled again for after the season in the summer. So that
Drainage and grading.
yes, that includes the sandmaster, which is the slats, and the infield, the sand for the infield. There is an issue with the dugouts. So it's a design issue. So the workaround is going to be the roof. The roofs are going to be removed, and the athletes will have access to the dugouts without a roof during the season. And then they're going to replace the concrete pad and then redesign the roof structure after the season. So during season, no roof, they'll have access, and then they're going to start from scratch. It was a design flaw with the roof of the dugouts.
We have tents that could provide coverage for a short period for the season.
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
The heat doesn't really ever get up to a temperature during the softball season as opposed to the summertime where girls play travel. And then obviously if it's raining, they're probably not playing anyway.
Yeah.
The boys don't have a roof on their dugouts right now, the old system. So I've talked to the coach and I think we're okay with that.
Good.
Any questions for Jeff?
So looking through I don't remember if it was basically the RFP for the capital project. I saw that the batting cage only has a single lane. So I guess my question would be, is there a reason we're not trying to get 2 lanes out of that, considering it's shared among 6 teams? And we don't have backup fields for baseball or softball. So I know there was a number of days last year that teams didn't practice because there was a game that went until dark.
Yep. Yeah. So we didn't add anything. We didn't have a batting. We obviously don't have an outdoor batting
I
cage.
guess one's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And if we get one, it will forever be one.
Yep.
Versus, this is our sort of one shot.
Yep. Yeah. When asking, just adding, it was an addition to the project. So just asking for one was what I asked for. So that wasn't that we didn't
It's
want
pretty
to.
much like if you want another one.
Yeah.
I know.
Take 4.
Preference is that we cost out 1 versus 2 because you're getting the majority of the work. There's not a lot of extra as far as materials go because you're sharing half the structure. I guess personally, I've done this before. I'd rather at least see what the difference is. And then obviously I get that we'll have to prioritize, but if we never ask, we're never getting.
Right.
So we can have that conversation at an OAT meeting. Do all 6 potentially utilize that at the same time, or modified is separate than JV and?
So your modified teams can't practice with your JV and varsity teams together.
So basically though, one team could be using the cage while the other team's using the field.
Yeah, that's what we currently do with the indoor one. When we're inside because of weather, the softball team will be in a new gym, baseball, and they do different work than switch and stuff like that.
So especially that's for me, having baseball and softball at the same time, plus obviously having games with other teams trying to warm up. Like cages are the most versatile thing to have at any field.
Sure.
So we can bring that up at, Stacy, I think you mentioned earlier the cost of a cage.
We had the bid, I'm sorry, I always have bad news. We had the bid openings today and the cost of the cages is 150,000.
I'm going to start myself a new business.
That's right.
But we will bring it.
But we will
Point is
revisit.
well taken. We'll have that conversation and, we're still in the middle of looking at overall costs and how things are working out, so.
And baseball fields are ready to go?
The baseball field, they practiced on it today. It was dragging done today and it was sufficient for practice today, but today was really the first day they could get out and the crew could get out there and work on it because of the frost.
Okay.
And all that, but they were able to drag it today. I walked the softball field today, softball team practiced on the softball field. I haven't talked to the coach since they had practice, but when I drove by, they were out there.
Okay.
The football field is done, pretty much. It's coming off the dugout, but everything else is done.
The infield is.
It looked really nice, yeah.
They have the construction barriers around
Yeah.
the dugouts right now while they're doing some work and taking the wood down.
Okay.
As mentioned, there's a few punch list items that they want to take a look at, and we may see some things as we're out there.
It looks nice though, yeah.
Yeah, it came out really.
Anything else?
So it's a pleasure to see you. We appreciate the numbers that you presented to us. I think.
Yeah, that's great.
You had such success this last season and looking forward to, lots of students participating this season. One thing that can engage kids, I'm so happy that we can offer what we can.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, Jeff.
So next up are the secondary budget presentations. As you know,
I was just gonna ask if we can shift the board. Okay. Just so the board could see.
yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
okay, thank you. As you know, needs assessment took place recently at the secondary level. They were with principals, teacher leaders, and other content area teachers after department-wide discussion. And then principals presented their priorities to the budget committee. So first up this evening to present on the high school needs assessment, Principal Laura Tava.
Jeff promised me he'd dress Mr. Farr to drum up business.
Musical. I'm gonna be Cruella DeVille magically.
I take your word for it.
No, okay. So, good evening. Thanks for letting me share some information with you tonight. It started with the projected enrollment, just so we can get an idea of what we're looking at. We have fluctuated the last couple of years between like that 575 and 625 sort of number, depending on transitions in, transitions out. What we're seeing now is the smaller classes, that 11th and 12th grade classes kind of graduating and moving out each year, and the bigger classes coming up. So where we might have hovered around like 550 in the past, we're steady right around that 600 number from time to time. That also breaks down to high needs in terms of our E&L population, our students with disabilities population, and
this doesn't capture some of the other needs like 504 plans and things like that. So just to try to break it down and share with you, we stay right around that 20% students with disabilities, and we see a growing number of our ENL population. So you'll see a little bit of that reflected in the needs assessment. Our club numbers, not as high as we'd like to see with sports, we have really high numbers with sports. We have some clubs that are doing really great things. These numbers reflect what they're calling membership that attend regularly. So club meetings are open to kids all the time. You can drop into any club you want at any point. So we ask them to quantify members that are coming each week that they see, or every other week whenever they're holding their meetings. A couple of these clubs are low, and I think we need to kind of look at, are they not in demand for a particular reason? Are there other clubs that we could bring to the high school and swap out that would be more exciting and meaningful? Those are things for us to look at. They're all important. They all have a place in the school. We're just not seeing the participation numbers in some of them that we would like to see. So I think that that's something that Ms. Brott and I will be talking about and discussing with Ms. O'Shea and how we can bring that up. But we've had a huge influx of numbers in National Honor Society. We had a great ski club season this year. Our community service club, I think, is the most robust we've had in the time I've been there. They're all over the city. They're in all the pictures. They're doing all sorts of good work. So there's a lot of positives coming out in this drama club. We saw it has huge numbers of over 50 kids. So there's some positive takeaways, and there's some we need to look at and say, do we need to modify? What do we need to do to tweak these? I met with all of the teacher leaders, as we do each year, with Peggy and with Dr. Tim and the team, and we really looked at what the departments are most proud of. So these are just some excerpts from their words in their meetings, and I took them out and kind of highlighted. So I believe you have this in front of you. I don't need to read through all of these, but there's a lot of things to celebrate, a lot of things we've done, continued work with our college partnerships, adding a new Sienna math class. We haven't worked with Sienna, so it's exciting to bring another college on board. For a small high school and limited scheduling options, we were able to meet 97% of students' wish lists when they were making their schedule. So we're really proud of that. So kids are getting what they want. And some ideas for the future on how we can work with the middle school with some vertical alignment to maybe even offer more options and flexibilities as we explore the New York State Pathways options in the coming years as well. We brought on our freshman seminar course. We had a science teacher accepted to the Master Teacher Program this year, which is a wonderful thing, and we're very excited for her, Alicia Tomasino. We were able to retain French, which we weren't sure for a period of time due to the lack of world language teachers in that area, but we brought on a virtual French program through the help of BOCES, and it's worked wonderful. Tara Tassani comes in about once a month, meets with the students, and has done some really great things with them, from crate making to surprising them and coming in and doing events. So that's going very well, and we're happy with that. ELA scores are in a good place. They look to be right around that pre-pandemic, which we're looking to maintain. And we're also going to be offering the ELA Regents to grade 10 moving forward in offering that in a younger grade level, so that we're giving more opportunities for kids to take the examinations and not waiting until junior year. And then some other things coming down the pike that we're looking at that we can do like that as well to be creative. So there's some other highlights in there. In terms of needs on the next slide, we are fully staffed at the high school, and thank you, and everything we've asked for. I did that the other day. Okay, so, and everything we've asked for is filled, so that's a wonderful thing. So there's not really staffing needs on here. It's more programmatic continuation and asks for things now that we have settled with staffing. How do we refine and improve on the things that we're already doing? So paramount, school safety, how do we make it even better? How do we make it more robust? So we want to look at how do we upgrade the technology a little bit for our security office? How do we make that a little bit more modern, improve communications, improve the safety of the overall entrance to the high school when you get there? So we're going to be meeting with, I have a meeting next Friday with Building and Grounds to start that conversation proactively. I did share with you at our last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, I believe, about Yonder, our visit to Troy schools, reaching out to other area administrators and what they're doing. So securely e-hall pass with the iPad so that everything's paperless and we can track better kids in class and making sure that they're not taking advantage of the pass system. So that's something we're looking for. And then an lead officer stipend for our safety team, somebody that's going to take the reins with scheduling, that can be a single point person. We have an amazing team, but to streamline communication and make sure it's effective, it'd be nice to have a lead point person that could also touch base with law enforcement, locally and stay in touch with administration when there's need. Programmatic development, the big ask is an offsite alternative program. We believe we've come up with a framework that would work very well. But certainly to do it right, we need appropriate staffing and we need a location that's offsite. And it can't detract from the staffing at the high school in terms of, you know, we don't want to take one from the other to start an offsite program. So something to consider to look at. I know we have rough numbers and rough framework of what that would look like. So if that's possible to get off the ground, we would really love to do that. And we have some great ideas for how to embed career readiness and design with local corporations into that alternative program so that you're not simply sitting in an alternative space, but you're alternatively learning content and preparing yourself for a career. So that's really the goal. And to do that in the younger years, this would ultimately be designed for freshmen and sophomores so that they could come out of this program and be ready for CTE or another pathway in their upper years of high school. So that's the design thought right now. Certainly flexible and open to suggestions. Certainly can share more about that if you like. ENL iPads, as we see the population of ENL students growing, we want to make sure that we have proper translation opportunities for those students and that they can be successful in class, along with updated books, software, any PD needed by content area. And the NISLIS, the change with the science standards is going to come with investigations now. So this fall we'll be back to calling it biology, and it's going to be Earth and space systems. So we have to make sure that we have the materials ready for what to order. And I'm told by our science experts in the building that it's a pretty lengthy list of things that you need to make these investigations happen. This, of course, will be in tandem with our capital project where we are knocking and gutting down the entire science wing. So that's going to be wonderful. But we have a plan. We always have a plan, and it's going to be fine. It's going to be smooth. So we need to account for those fees and those costs that we're going to incur in order to roll that out properly. And that's all I have.
I think just to update, since the last time we spoke, we continue our conversations with Ben Williams of the Connect Center. But just last week, Tim, Ben, myself, and CS Arch did tour the Connect Center, and Greg contacted State Ed just to get information so that we would be ready, and I can provide that to you in the near future too. So we are still working along those ways, but some very strong ideas between the Laura, Tim, and Ben at the Dream Big.
Yeah, these are our Dream Big meetings, and Ben has built-in connections already with National Grid and big corporations, local musicians, culinary artists, and how you can mix those in with traditional coursework to offer a really robust delivery of instruction that's different and hopefully very engaging and gets our most at-risk kids to come to school and learn and aspire to a career or two that they're interested in. So hopefully it can work.
Any questions for Laura?
So do you have a timeline for when you will get further information? I mean, I guess, you know, making a decision on the budget is coming quickly. And if some of these pieces are going to be included in it, I think it's important for us to know what that looks like as far as like how many kids, what kind of staffing we're looking at, you know, different implications budgetarily.
So in the full, we have that. So in the full model, it's approximately 248,000. But then looking at, you know, there are potential other models, but that is how many staff to.
It was 2.5 FTEs plus supplies.
Plus the campus safety monitor. So that is, so we have that, and that'll be part of the budget discussions next time. But we have it down to that level.
Okay, and we were talking about the yonder pouches, and we were talking that in framework more of potentially looking to purchase those sooner and not necessarily in next year's budget. I just want to make sure that we're still thinking down that pathway where we're talking about purchasing here, prepping and communicating, and then transitioning fully, you know, with the intent.
That would be ideal and also have a very structured, strategic, I know Peggy's sick of hearing me say this, rollout of communication. with our community resource.
Not at all. You can say it 3
Our
times.
police chief, our fire chief, because I think our number one thing, myself as a parent or any other parent's gonna say, is my kid safe? How do I get a hold of them? I have a plan for how to get a hold of everybody. And yes, it's safe because when you're jamming up the 911 line with 700 cell phone calls, that is unsafe.
Right.
But we need people that are doing that work, not me, to come and help us communicate that to families and to ensure that we have a plan in place for everybody to communicate with their children safely. So I think the sooner we can do that, and I would also argue if we can do the iPad, any of the many iPad purchases this year with the budget, and defer to Stacy on this for Securely.
So just so you know, for the, for the ENL iPads.
That's separate,
We can
yeah.
do that this year through a grant. I asked Laura to contact the vendor to get the lead time for purchasing, and so you have that.
Yeah.
Looks like we could definitely, if we had the decision, if May did the presentations, looked at how it impacts our code of conduct in May, a little earlier than normal, that he said the lead time would just be a few weeks.
Yeah, we can store them over the summer, strategically come up with our plan. We certainly have a model from Troy, but how does that work at Cohoes, and sort of replicate that and tweak it, and have a strategic rollout plan, I think would be really important.
I think my priority between both of those discussions is making sure that we don't get stalled and that we just keep progressing forward, because we don't want to get to a point where we've done all this work.
Right.
Don't have anything to show for it.
Exactly.
Like, I guess, we can just be here to keep moving forward. I know that you guys have done a lot of work and we greatly appreciate that. And if there's anything, we already know next year's budget is looking pretty tight.
Right.
So if there are areas of efficiencies, I'd like to, I'm sure everybody would like to take advantage of those if possible. But we know that the communication piece is going to be something that we really need to be, considerate about and deliberate about. So.
And since we last spoke together about Yangler, there was another press conference with the governor about the phone free bell to bell. And I don't know what the monetary reimbursement of that looks like, but there might be information on that as well.
But in talking and looking and working with Stacy, we do believe we can do that this year. Also, we've had some preliminary conversations at the middle school level in terms of, making this a, 6 to 12 initiative, but also having middle school take a team to visit a middle school that has this in operation, because there might be some slight differences. So those discussions have started as well.
Yeah, I feel very strongly that we roll this out at the same time.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Great. I mean, it is a transition time for kids anyway.
Right.
A lot of kids don't get cell phones to learn middle school. I think we've seen, what happens and having that presentation and some of the positives that have come out of it from different districts and hearing from other parents and kids that it's not an impact. I feel like it makes most sense and, get the biggest bang for our buck if we do.
We've also spent a lot of money as a district on Chromebooks.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see an organic approach to kids bringing their Chromebooks charged to school a little bit more, and especially if they can't access their phone device during the day. So that's just an added benefit, I believe.
So I know that, you've done a lot of research on it, and I appreciate everything that you have done with it. And I know that, the school district has. Have you thought about having a parent board or members of the community that can be participating in the rollout of getting the education out to the other parents that can speak to them on, I know you're a parent, I'm a parent, but sometimes they don't view us as a parent. They just view us as we're telling their children what to do. And so having another parent.
That was actually part of Troy's rollout, was they had parents in the rollout. That
Absolutely.
Come to the board meetings and speak. We also have our BLT. We have Jenny Hootailing on our BLT that, is on board and happy to speak about it too if we need it. And we had a BLT meeting earlier today where we updated everybody and said, this could be something that the building leadership team, this was a goal.
Right.
And when we presented in the beginning of the year, this was a goal, and we're excited that we have now moved forward toward that.
I think, and believe me, like having your BLT board and stuff like that, but I really think having someone who isn't not normally, but always engaged on it, like really getting out there to the parents that don't feel comfortable sometimes, participating in things and making it a grassroots effort to really get them in on it with their children.
I think they also brought parents from a district. This was something that they shared with us, where school had already instated it and brought those parents to say, I know it was scary and I know it was.
Yeah, exactly.
It ended up having all these benefits and, we're happy to answer any questions, having been through this ourselves a year ago. So that's another thing we could possibly.
Absolutely. The more parent involvement that you can get for this rollout, the better your rollout is going to be.
Yeah. Agreed. Yep.
So can I just ask, the securely hall pass system, that's obviously just a software package?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that something that we can get through BOCES? Like,
yes,
they offer it, so it will be aidable?
Yes. Yep, and Ms. Bratt met with them on a couple occasions. It's a very affordable software package. The hidden cost would be in the iPads. And then we have, I think, plenty of Chromebooks if we need to set up some kiosk stations for kids to sign in and out of classes and things of that too, that we could use for that. And every teacher has a Chromebook as well in their room.
We have the tentative rollout schedule, any type yet, as far as the vouchers go?
They would, that securely and any of these things we've really talked about would be rolled out for the fall.
No, but I'm talking about when are we buying them? When are we holding meetings? When are we gonna communicate out? Because I don't think we should wait until late summer to communicate.
Our plan is actually to also move the code of conduct, hearing and all of that up. They really do tie together. There's some other to do that at the meeting in May. We talked about our first board meeting in May. And then, from there, working through the rollout in the end of May and early June, when everyone is still here. And a lot of good examples on how to involve others, and the point about parents very.
As I'm choking, sorry.
You can give a more detailed timeline,
No,
but that's part of the discussion.
Picture right now.
Yep.
And then just one quick question, like, you hit on it, but I'd like you to look at the threshold for clubs continuing, because I just went back through my notes from last year and it was the same clubs with low numbers.
Yep.
Did the same thing and then we were in the same place.
Yeah.
In the fall, if we're gonna keep putting the same amount of money into it, I'd like to see the data.
Sure.
I mean, one club I think we did discontinue was environmental science based on numbers.
Environmental, cooking, drawing, and painting.
So we have done,
The other I'm missing. So we have eliminated a few clubs over the past few years.
but the idea of really reframing with been input some of the clubs as well.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next, I'd like to call up Cohoes Middle School Principal Mark Peterson. So as you know, Mark had not joined us yet during the needs assessment or the budget committee meetings. So we did take the information from the meetings, shared it with Mark, shared it on the slides. Stacy, Tim and I were at all those meetings. So if there are questions that, Mark can't answer, then we'll help chime in.
We're happy to make it a collaborative effort.
Teamwork.
Coming up here prepared to tell Alliance I worked all year. Boss, as you can see, our numbers are relatively stable. We're going down a little next year, but that's partly because we're offloading some of our students, more of our students onto Laura than we're receiving from the elementary school. But you can see it's relatively in the same line, roughly about 20 something students difference next year. One of the biggest differences that you'll notice up here is, well, our E&M population. We currently have 4 in the 6th grade. Next year we're getting 8. But it's balancing out because we're losing 12. We're picking up 8. So it's we're relatively stable next year in terms of our population. So our clubs, I listened to the concerns of the board, Mr. Jackson's concern, and that was one of my concerns too, when I looked at the numbers here. For a school the size of the middle school, I would have liked to see the numbers higher. I would have also liked to see more clubs. But that's like a catch-22. The question is, if we have more clubs, would we have more students involved? And if we did have more students involved, would it diminish the number of students in each of these clubs? My thought is that maybe if probably we take a look at historical figures and see which clubs have been underpopulated so far, and maybe see if we can find some more vibrant clubs. Maybe those clubs may actually attract more students. But we do need to have more students involved in after-school activities. Every afternoon I see everyone just leaving the school in droves and the building is left empty, except for after-school detention. I prefer if we had students in clubs and activities rather than in detention. So the numbers are there. I would like to see them high and see a wider variety. As for the needs assessment, these came from the teachers and my predecessor. This year, what we are proud of, I should say. And so we have a wagon. We have some students come around the room one day, some of our lowest functioning kids, and they're learning these life skills. And they come around, they make coffees and they serve coffees and cakes to the staff members. So it's a very positive thing for them because they feel wanted and needed, and they're doing a service for everyone. So we're very proud of that. New York State Science Intermediate Investigations. As you might be aware, this year is the first year that science is going to be coming to the 6th grade, to the 5th grade. Prior it was 8 and 4, now it's in the 5th grade. And it also changed, the format of the exam has also been changed. So our teachers went out and they got some training on the difference between what it was then. Prior, they used to have some labs which had to be done in the building. Now that seemed to be that's changed a little. So they had to go out and get some training on that. So they're proud of that. The iReady program is up and running in the 6th grade. Teachers are enjoying it. I go to classes almost every day and I see some students working on it. They seem quite functional on iReady, and they're on their Chromebooks and they're doing their thing. So they've been doing it quite well so far and they're very interested. Some of our teachers, I think this was over the summer, I spoke with Miss Penny this afternoon. They went on a training program at BOCES, Capital Region BOCES. They learned about a project-based learning that they could bring back to the school. And I think there were about 4 of them, and they came back, implemented a project-based learning in their classes, and then they presented it back to BOCES and basically got basically got accolades for what they have done. So they are proud of it, the fact that they went, they did their stuff, and they were able to go back and they were approved, but they were proud of what the teachers were able to implement. Transition back to school and schoolology. Well, I wasn't here, I don't know what it was before, but it's all for my first time using schoolology. Prior, I did e-school and power school, so this is new for me. So I think it's also new for the teachers, so we're in the same boat. Our departments right now say they're fully staffed. And I pause when I say that because on the needs assessment, it might say something slightly different. But depending on where we go next year, as we start looking at our scheduling, there's some things that we may want to change around. And so we might need to make some changes with staff. I should also say, and although it says we're fully staffed, we are also at this point short of 1 teaching assistant, which I understand we have advertised for. we may have even interviewed for, but the person has not yet come on board. So we're functioning, but with a little more massaging, things could be different. And so you'll see that on the next slide with the needs assessment. Okay. So our needs. There we go. Instructional. Number one, math AIS teacher. The sixth grade team, I met with them and they're desirous of changing the way the teams are designed. At the same time, part of their idea is we have quite a few enrichment programs in the building, and we want to make sure that they are more functional than how they currently are working. And maybe if we had an AIS math teacher, we could take those students out of the enrichments and have a qualified math teacher helping them. So the way it's being run now, enrichment, it could be done differently, but bear in mind that, you know, the needs of the students are not entirely what they're getting in the enrichments. So we would like to make it more effective. Point 3, our teacher, and we thought of point 2, one teaching care of a technology teacher. So those are some of the needs. And by the way, I must add, noticeably absent from their instructional is a principal. Please make sure to put that in. So every day to stay next year, and every day I tell her no.
By the way.
I know.
And I decide I'm going to win this fight. So we discussed that the principal. School safety. Diana, she's badgering me. School safety, well, we would like to increase our campus monitors, safety monitors by at least 0.5. Now, one of the things I have noticed the last 18 days is the time our campus security start. And if we were to get a 0.5 person, we would have them there. We'd be able to stagger their hours so that we could have someone there in the morning and especially in the afternoon. When kids are coming and when they're leaving, most times that's when things happen. We can survive more in the middle of the day if we had them staggered for a couple hours here and a couple hours there, but we do need this more security around after school and before school. 0.5 would help us tremendously. Laura mentioned alternative program.
We want to.
And I think she probably stole this from us, but anyway, we have a mutual feeling when it comes to this. I have noticed since in the last 18 days, we do have a lot of students, an inordinate number of students in the middle school who they're having a tough time being in the building, being in their classroom on a regular basis, and they're not getting the most out of the education system the way we have it. I think if we were to have an alternative program, we could utilize it, have a shared service where some of these students could be in that program. I've also noticed that we have had some students who have not been coming to the building for weeks, months. And some of these students, for whatever the reason is, maybe if they were in that alternative setting, a smaller group setting, maybe they would feel more comfortable, maybe it would be more beneficial to them. So I hear Laura's sentiment that we could use something else for these students because we're losing some of them, many of them on board who are just not being serviced as they should. The Young Pouch Initiative, I spoke with Deanna and I spoke with Ms. Duff. my big vision is to, I won't be here. It's going to be on them. So Deanna needs to be versed in this. I would want the teachers to have the buy-in. And so I spoke with Ms. Duff, she's a building rep. That Deanna, Ms. Duff, and I think a safety personnel should be going to Doyle Middle School in Troy. Deanna was important with the schools. And then a date and time when they're going to pay the school a visit and come back with the idea. I spoke to Laura, and once Deanna visits Troy, they're going to come back and they're going to share ideas with Laura and her team, because the high school already went on their visit. So we're next to go, and hopefully very soon. So that's update for our needs, and just type in the principal there. Questions that I may be able to answer?
Can I just ask, the 0.3 and 0.2, are those needs based on current enrollment, or are they needs based on next year's enrollment for the art teacher and tech teacher?
Well, they're based on current enrollment for both of those right now. As a matter of fact, right now, we have someone who's teaching art who's not an art teacher. So we're trying to fill that vacancy.
Yeah, so the art is current and will need to continue. The technology, that's new for next year, but on any given year, at times you might have seen the 0.2 in the budget. Sometimes scheduling is able to be done without it, sometimes not. It wasn't in there last year, but because of the numbers of seventh graders moving to eighth.
And yeah, and this year, then ended up when we did some scheduling, because there's so many seventh graders. We ended up, because we do have, we have our full-time art teacher, we have our academic,
Adaptive.
Adaptive. Thank you, Laura. And we needed to add, we had to do another section that had to run concurrent, had to run at the same time Crystal was teaching, because again, we just had so many seventh graders, and our art classes are always pretty packed. We got a lot of coordinators back after the big layoffs of the 2011 this year, but we did not retain, we did not get a lot of special teachers back. So again, that's what we're trying to just make sure that our class sizes are reasonable. The eighth grade, obviously for next year, the tech, we had toyed with it this year, but we were able to make it happen without it. But again, with that cohort size for next year, I don't see how we would be able to offer, if we were going to a current model that we're scheduling. Now, I don't know how we can fit them all into the size section.
Okay. So the 0.3 we're currently using, continuing on 0.2 is added based on schedule.
Yes.
Okay. And what is the current campus safety monitor schedule look like? What's your current?
8 to 3 right now.
And what do you have?
Oh, we have 2.5.
2.5?
They come from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, 2.5.
Okay.
So the 0.5 will give us 3. And that would give us the ability to stagger a little wider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any kind of questions?
If I could just say one thing about the clubs, and I noticed it with Laura too. One of the things, it's a great problem to have. We just have to kind of figure it out. Because as you saw tonight, because our musical and our drama club have just exploded, which is amazing, and the kids love it. I know that when I was trying to get some numbers, we're talking like how many times, like Protect numbers were, we're up a lot. A lot of the clubs were up more than one. That the kids, the kids get so involved in musical productions that we're hoping to see them swing up again. So again, I don't know if those things schedule our things differently, but again, as many.
I don't think we don't have restrictions on when clubs have, like, that's not.
They're so busy with the, they're so busy with the physical that a lot of times they don't have time to to be in the clubs during.
And Jeff told us there's 52 kids just in baseball and softball, not to mention however many are in track. So if you're looking at your cohort sizes, you know, you can see for sure, like you said, you don't want to steal from one to get from another, but it's capturing those kids who aren't currently involved.
So maybe as part of our whole discussion about clubs, both middle and high school, we can also talk about models. So for example, our intramural models, you know, there's 3 different sections of intramurals at different times of the year. We can have some of those discussions too, looking at those time periods. So I think that would be great to have a 6-12 discussion
Well, and again,
on
we have
clubs.
some things too that, especially everyone knows the amazing job that he is doing with career development and, you know, like I said, it's, you know, our one club that's a volunteer run club this year, you know, to present to you guys earlier, it's a very successful club. They meet every Monday. I think they're starting filming already.
Is that the mixed media?
Yeah. And again, that was kid driven, they wanted it, you know, it was their idea, and we were able to make it happen. I don't know how much movement we have in having some of these clubs maybe shift a little bit. So we have volunteer through them, but tweak some of the things the kids input on what kind of clubs they're really interested in.
So
I think we're all pretty flexible to hear whatever options you come up with.
I will say, as a parent of a high schooler and a middle schooler, the visibility is almost non-existent. So I would definitely say you could do more to make it known for parents.
Okay.
Because sometimes their kids just need a swift kick to do things that they need to add to their schedule.
So we can add that to the discussion too on communication. So,
Not my style.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So before I turn this over to Stacy, wanted to follow up on a few other things. So last time when CS Arch presented, there were questions regarding paving at the high school and attempting to capture more parking. We've had discussions with and we've reached out to ask CS Arch to come to the April 9th meeting because with the expectation that the paving bids would then be on the second meeting in April. So we want to make sure that before we're bringing, you know, that bid to you, that we have those discussions. So just so you know. And then also at our next meeting, that's when we'll be following up on the ENL potential of moving back to home schools at the elementary level. An ENO parent focus group was held on March 6th, and there were 12 families who attended out of 19 who, you know, had been invited for focus group, all families whose homeschool would be Lansing or Van Skyke. We had translators in Spanish, Ukrainian, Portuguese, and Chinese. The discussions were favorable. I'm going to really provide you the information in advance of the next meeting and then go into some of the other areas as well. And then one other item, staffing at our elementary meeting, staffing was discussed. So I will share that with you. And then if you have any questions, we can talk about that at the next meeting. Thank you. So at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to the fabulous Ms. Matthews.
I just have a few quick updates for you. So March is the second installment of tax collection. So we sent out reminders and receipts in late February. So that's underway. We have 2 audits that we're participating in. The first is with our internal auditor, Michael Wolf, who conducts the annual risk assessment. So he was here last week. He's working on 23-24. That's due. That survey is due at the end of April. So you'll see that report as soon as he issues it sometime in the next couple of weeks. And then we were selected, Cohoes was selected for the ERS audit with KPMG. So we've submitted everything that they've asked for. They had a couple follow-up questions this week that I have to get back on. But so those are the two audits that we're currently working on. The free market health program, I brought this up a few months ago now at this point. So this is a Kashik initiative with Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, or Highmark, Blue Cross Blue Shield. We did have an all-employee meeting in early March, on March 4th. We had one before school, then after school. The premise of this program is for prescription drugs, and it's really to focus on medical necessity. So we already have a prior authorization. We have 2 tiers. It's adding a 3rd tier. The focus is mainly GLP-1s, which is the weight loss drugs. So the GLP-1s, if somebody is already on a prescription, they would be grandfathered into the program. As long as their prescription is active when the rollover changes. They wouldn't have to go through the pre-authorization process. Free market health would also add a competitive bidding for the mail order drugs. So that would happen behind the scenes. And again, these are drugs that are mailed to the person's home. So it would come from potentially a different pharmacy, but the individual wouldn't notice anything except for that it was coming from a different pharmacy. So all of the savings related, because we're self-insured, would be passed on to everybody that participates in the plan. So I do have a Kashik meeting tomorrow. We did have to do a survey where we are in the process. In order to move forward, we would do MOAs with the units. So they've given us a standard MOA that I've shared with PEG.
So is this a mandatory commitment to stay within the Kashik model? Is this just initiatives that districts have to choose to be a part of or not be a part of? I know that you had brought this up at another meeting, and at that time, it wasn't discussed that it was for only prescription medicine.
Right.
But also, at the time, was a little concerning to me that we would have, one person ultimately, choosing the fate of someone's prescription drugs without it being necessarily the doctor. It's the insurance company saying, no, you can't have this. So, for people that are on trial, prescriptions and or trial medications, I guess my questions are, what is our level of commitment? Are we required to do this? And have there been any discussion as to like where that falls into place?
So currently it's not a requirement. It's very clear that the districts that don't participate will have higher premiums. It's not you're not going to have this medicine. It's we already have pre-authorizations. We have 2 tiers, so it's adding a 3rd tier. And it's not to not provide medication to people who need it. It's more of identifying medical necessity instead of what could be perceived as like a cosmetic type drug.
But someone from the insurance company is going to determine that.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but we should question things like this. I understand that the cost is going down, but is it the right thing to do for our people? I don't know. I've never heard of anybody on this program. I don't have any feedback. I'm asking the questions because I think they're valid questions. Like I said, I have a family member who's on trial drugs, who has been denied time and time again, regardless of what their physician says. And it's not necessarily, what their insurance company says. So I think it's important for us to have a discussion as to whether or not we feel like this is, the right thing to do just because it's the cheaper option. So do we know anybody that's currently on this program? Is it new?
It's new to Kashik, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I would be interested in hearing from, if there's other consortiums who have used this where, you know, there are some positives. I mean, obviously, they're gonna tell you the positives, like that's what their job is, to tell you the positives. So, you know, all the costs are going down. We know that, you know, prescription coverage is through the roof. We understand that. We know that there's many different options out there that could be out there, but also we don't want to limit ourselves to saying, you know, this third tier is the yes or no to, you know, getting what you need.
So we can get you some additional information. So for example, with this type of model, you know, numbers of staff that might impact, what are some other districts that are doing that, et cetera. So we can get more information to you.
And I mean, if
And definitely.
the only person here that, you know.
No, I mean, obviously,
I like information.
yeah, exactly. And switching any insurance plan over for a large group of people, you have to, you know, you can't just do it based upon one person's needs or assessments or what the insurance company is telling you, because like Margaret said, they're going to tell you, of course, this is the best and the cheapest. I mean, we all know insurance premiums are going 20%, 30% up this year. And also to Margaret's point, Margaret, your medications are always going to be chosen by your insurance company, regardless of whether your doctor says you need it or not. That's just the way that the cookie crumbles now. And it's a horrible system, but that is exactly the system we live in. We definitely need to know people who have used this, what they have come to with it. We also need to get the demographics of the prescriptions that our current employees are on from the insurance company to know if the demographics of those insurance, of the prescriptions and all those things are going to be covered on the new plan. We can't just blindly go and say, okay, like this is a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You very much can ask our insurance carrier.
They've shared
all of that. And that's what you need to do, is to go into that.
We're not switching plans either. I just want to be clear.
Right, but it's also.
Things that requires more time and effort on the employee's part in order to get the medication that they may
or may not
ultimately be prescribed.
Exactly. So, I mean, have you given the demographics of what we currently have for our employees in the prescription plan over to the new?
No, it's high level. I don't have what employee and what prescription.
I don't.
High level.
We're never gonna have that, but I mean, like, what the, you know, like, what are your highest prescriptions that are being utilized by your employees? Is that
So
going to be covered?
Stacy has had a lot of discussions and a lot of, you know, information. We will get that information.
Yeah, and I think that's all that Margaret and I are asking for. Like, we got to see.
You've never brought anything to us that has been unresearched or, you know, unplanned, for sure. I'm not saying that, but it is our job to ask questions. You know, we are one of the largest employers, if not the largest employer in the entire city. And I think we have a responsibility to make sure that this is good for our people too. Good for our budget, good for our wallets, but also good for our people.
So I'm hearing number of employees and types of prescriptions.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm just curious. I don't know how a format like this works. I can tell you that, you know, time and time again, things are, you know, denied before they even get to the point where, you know, you're waiting for an appointment and now you have to get pre-authorization, or you're waiting for, you know, certain things to happen. And now you have to wait for pre-authorization. What does that look like? What's the time frame look like? You know, what is their denial rate? Who's already using this, and what is their experience?
And it is now just the prescriptions. It's not the medical side of it.
It's prescriptions. Yeah.
Thank you. And then finally,
transportation RFP. So I'm working on the transportation RFP. I'm working with BOCES on this process. It's about 72 pages of fun. We are looking at all of our contractual transportation. So it would be special programs in and out of district. It would be BOCES CTE, the McKinney-Vento and foster students, ELL, and the summer age program. So we're looking for efficiencies because the costs have really spiked over the past couple of years for this particular service. So timeframe is late April for this. We'll evaluate the RFP once it comes in. The goal would be to take action in May for this, and then it would be effective for the summer age program, so it'd be effective for July, and then the rest of the runs would be effective for first day of school in September.
Stacey, you may not be able to answer this question, but I know we ran into some issues with some of our transportation providers not being able to get to games and activities and field trips due to staffing issues on their end. Is there any protections in these contracts for things like that, or is it just so sorry?
So in this, so that's a separate vendor that's not included in this RFP, field trips and athletics.
Okay.
So in this particular RFP, we're working on some monetary penalties, if you will. Yes, yeah, so trying to work that out. That hasn't been standard historically for us, so that's kind of a new look. But hopefully that would help.
Yes, for sure.
And we're asking also for, well, there's a lot in the 72 pages, but we're looking at having penalties, monetary penalties, if they're not able to provide some of the services.
Great, thank you.
Stacey, can I ask so I heard of potentially a couple districts up north looking at who struggle with, some of our McKinney-Vento where it's a singular rider going from, one place to another, looking at a format where they are reimbursing families for transportation. Have we looked into that, or is it allowable for us to do that?
It is allowable. We've done it periodically with some of our special needs students. I can't recall recently anyways, when we've had a McKinney-Vento student. It is allowable.
I don't know if it's restricted just to that, but I kind of heard of a conversation and I was like, that's interesting, but I didn't know if that was something we've explored.
We've done it in the past for parent reimbursement, if that's a question. However, a lot of times our McKinney-Vento students don't have transportation, so we work with that, but we have done it occasionally.
There's also language in this RFP, again, it's not done yet, but there's also language asking them to focus on efficiencies, and if there can be efficiencies to have to present a plan. So if we'd be sharing a bus with school district that they contract with to have a plan for that and what that looks like. So it's very different than what we have had historically, but hopefully it'll be better.
And when is that? That's not pressure, that's
April, right now, I have April 22nd as the due date.
Okay.
Hoping that I can finish it this week and then get it advertised.
Okay.
And then
I might need to push it out depending on a week or so, but that's the goal right now, April 22nd.
And just to give you a couple other RFPs that we're currently working on, RFP for a new medical director. Dr. DeTerzi has notified us that she won't be able to continue as medical director. And then also an RFP for our pre-K. We have a strong partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, but through a state review, the recommendation is that every so often, we do an RFP. So we're working on revising our previous RFP. Last time we did that was for the 2019-2020 school year. And so that will be as well. And then, this is when I said finally, I thought we were at this slide, but we weren't. So as we've had some discussions that, beginning next school year, there needs to be an ex officio high school, school board member. And we've discussed how, exciting that idea is. Love to get feedback from students. Our policy committee meeting, thank you, Mr. Jones, for signing on board to that, along with Mrs. Giller. This meeting next week, we wanted to bring this up at this meeting because there are some options in terms of how to choose a school board member as a student, and we just wanted to review those options and just have a discussion tonight.
So the policy itself has some pretty much fill in the blanks. So when I was reviewing it for our policy committee meeting, I thought, we could just meet as a policy committee and then present and then, get kind of a guide, but we really kind of need to at least make a decision based on what options that we have for the selection process. And so there's different things, it talks about what the policy will talk about what the student board member's role is, what information they would be provided and have access to, whether we would have them be here for an entire meeting, if they would be here for just their update and then leave. Many districts do that. You can say that they can leave at a certain point during the meeting. You can also appoint one board member. We have to appoint at least one, but you can appoint an alternative. That way there's not a missing, we're not missing someone. It does state in the policy, 3 absences is considered vacant. So we really have to kind of adjust the policy to work for us and work for what we think our kids are going to be able to do and the level of commitment that we're asking for. We know that our kids are involved in a lot of things and can't always expect that throughout the entire school year we would have necessarily the same person who is eligible. So I wanted to be able to have this discussion for us to think about different things. I think that all of these are the really like. Oh, the high school, okay. So these options here, there was one more, right? That small city school districts can't use, and that would be an elected student. So like if a student were to campaign for themselves inside of the school district, I think that's the only one that we can't use. So student elected as student president, student elected by student government, so it'll probably be student council would then elect a representative appointed by the high school principal, appointed by the superintendent, or appointed by vote of the school board. So thought we would have a discussion. Luckily, Mrs. Charles here and might be able to give us an idea. It's a hard conversation to have, again, like especially pinpointing. We know that people in the student president, for example, has a lot of things to do already, and maybe that might not be a good fit for our district. So any conversations, thoughts anybody might have on, how to guide this discussion or?
And then I can tell you also that Laura and I did have, a discussion in advance of the meeting, but we would like to.
Do we know what districts are currently doing this?
I can tell you Boston Scott does it. They do. Been doing it for years and years.
Okay.
It is part of their student government. They have a representative from student government come. It's not always the same representative.
Okay.
Their policy has, it's basically grandfathered in. It's just a member of the student leadership team. So they have been doing it. They do it every single board meeting. The student essentially starts the meeting. The president does, the roll call, and then it's the student report, and then they leave for the remainder of the meeting, but we don't have to do that.
So it's not mandatory until this year, but there are a number of other districts who have done it as well. We've had discussions around that. I can just start by, I think both Mrs. Tarlo and I would prefer not to nominate a student. And, I'm not sure how the board feels. We like the options of having it come from a student.
I would agree.
I would agree. I would want the student to want to be here or not.
Yeah, I think having someone who wants to be here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes.
I don't know, I'm gonna add something more.
With opportunity for governance exposure with their high school students. So first, I would love to see student council students in it more than just on campus or the one house to have a authentic governance experience, especially for students looking for going to school, political science or areas like that. That this could provide a robust experience for them to help them with future career choices. So I mean, that's sort of where I'm thinking.
So more so the elected individual by student government, where it didn't have to be the president.
It doesn't have to be the president. It might be a student who's in it who has different interests, and maybe they're not about it, and 10 other things, you know, so this might be something that you really be excited about.
Sure. And what are your thoughts about a primary board member or an alternate? Because that is also part of the policy. You have to actually identify if you're having an alternate or not.
Being an alternate's a great idea because a lot of kids do have very busy schedules, and if we want to have a representative, you know, principals have assistants, I think it'd be great to have some student on board. That helps follow.
Does have any thoughts on the matter?
I mean, I definitely agree with the whole political science aspect of the child, you know. I don't foresee somebody doing it just to say, hey, I'm gonna go and spend my Wednesday night at a school board meeting, you know, something like that. And like you say, Laura, that's going to, you know, give them a feel of government and how things are and volunteering your time, because we all know the pay is, you know, substantial. And so, you know, like that's something that if that child is interested in doing that at a later date, the earlier they start doing it, the better that they start doing it. Pretty much the same as like having like a mock trial club in the school, which I don't know, not to talk about adding new clubs, but
We used to.
I mean, mock trial is, you know, or having, you know, like your student peers be the people who tell you what your punishments are for your in-school suspension, stuff like that. I'm a big proponent of it, and I really do think that it's coming from someone who wants to do this, wants to be here, and it's not just to, you know, sit up here and.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think, okay, so we'll have it elected by the high school student government, and then we'll include alternate in there. Discussions about the amount of time, because again, that is something we can say they could be dismissed early. Doesn't mean necessarily that they have to, but it's an option. You have to put it in the policy if we're saying that we might dismiss them early. So there's a bigger plan in this where the superintendent actually has to come up with, you know, what exactly the work of the student would be in, you know, in cooperation with myself, but there are pieces of it that we kind of have to identify. And, you know, we know that first reading, second reading adoption is going to take 3 meetings for us to get this through.
Right.
We want to do the best we can to get the things in that are kind of high level, and then we'll get into the pieces of what the responsibilities are, what the details are as far as what information that student would get, decision-making capabilities, like those types of things.
So is there a certain aspect of what they are responsible for telling us in their?
To pretty much identify what the role is.
Okay.
It is very clear about what they cannot have access to as what we have access to as board members. You know, some of our backup things, any kind of personnel issues, certainly any student discipline issues, they would be involved in more high-level discussions. We're having a conversation about code of conduct. Would you like to contribute anything? But there is no decision-making, there is no extra vote, there's no backup materials. It's more kind of a student perspective, I believe, you know, but that would be determined, you know, probably also with Mrs. Tarlow involved in formatted before. But the problem is we have to have someone already elected and in place by July 1st. So
We can provide some samples of what other districts do. We can use.
Yeah, that would be
have
great.
Conversation around, and then and then go from there.
I do think that if we're having a student become a meaningful member of anything, that they would need to be here for the full meeting, knowing that executive session, things like that would be off the plate or off the table. But also knowing that we all have things come up. You're excused if you need to be excused, and part of the reason for an alternate. But I do feel strongly that them coming in to do a presentation is it's almost patronizing to the student. Like, oh, you could be this, and then, but you can leave. Let's them be part of the full experience.
Thank you.
I agree.
Anybody else? Okay. So I think we have enough to move forward at least. For our next policy committee. Thank you very much, guys.
And then some upcoming events tomorrow night, CMS exhibition night. So I know that reminders went out to elementary schools today too. So hopefully you'll get some fifth graders and their parents, the descendants that we already talked about. And then also, I can't see, but that's okay, the ENL information night picnic coming up. I do also just want to mention that I had the pleasure of seeing the Girls Bowl in Syracuse this weekend, and they did an amazing job. And I think as time went on, I started really understanding bowling.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll just move on with our agenda. Does the board have any items on tonight's agenda that they would like to discuss?
I know our hands are tied with the school calendar, but I have to say as a parent, it's the best thing I've possibly ever seen as far as how early it starts, how late it goes, and the extra days that I have to find care for around Christmas time. And then as a aside, the 7 likely half days, I think are concerning when we look at our attendance drop like a rock. The elementary levels, I know my kids are normally below 50% in their classrooms. Is there any consideration at some point to still including that amount of PD, but doing it as full days instead of half days?
So so a few things. You're right, we're constrained by when the regents are offered and then going backwards for the start. So there are a number of constraints. We could have one, this goes before a calendar committee. We have some discussions.
Do you
in
have
the
parents on?
forward. So going forward, and point taken, going forward, we could have a discussion. We can have one additional full day superintendent's conference day. We use 3. So we could have one additional day. I can tell you that this year, we had our secondary half days on parent conference days, and then we had an additional half day in March for elementary. It made sense to have our half days both be K-12 for more flexibility. So, and then have elementary parent conferences only on those days. We felt that October would be a really good time to touch base, month into the start of the school year, month and a half. And elementary does not have, PD time. Secondary did under the model. So we can definitely consider that going forward.
Rick,
And just also,
I'm just going to ask, as the opposite or whatever, what are your concerns about, you're saying the early start, the late ending, and the
For kids, when you're doing it continuously, finding random day here, half day there is significantly more difficult.
So are you talking about the days off that are in there? Because you said the start of school starting so early, which it's starting in September 1st.
So we end up starting earlier.
Right, and we always start after the week after Labor Day.
their conditions limit us to what BOCES calendar is. They set their calendar
Right.
and give them to us. So again, Regents testing day, rating day is.
As I said, majority of that blame on the state.
Right, I mean, because, that's good. Always put the week after Labor Day, which this is the week after Labor Day. You always get pretty much the 2 weeks at Christmas, and then.
Like December 22nd, 23rd, and January 2nd are going to be super fun for me.
Believe me, you want to have a kid come back on Friday? You're not going to bring your school back on Friday.
I was gonna say, I think the BOCES calendar is just coming back that one day. Again, having school in session, but then having your kids not be able to go to their half-day program. What do we do with kids when they don't have half-day program? Also, if we have any teachers who are BOCES, a virtual teacher or whatever, we would not have that teacher available if they were closed. Additionally, we've got 180 school days that we are required to have, 900 minutes at the elementary, 990 at the secondary. If we have a half day, it counts as an instructional day and it does not count towards your minutes. So if you take all of those half days and give a full PD day, you're taking away from your 180 minutes. I can tell you we have 184 on the calendar because we have the same days counted out, 184.
Oh, I know, I feel that.
Is if you were to give full day superintendent or full day PD days, you would not meet your instructional hours in minutes, days. You would not meet your days.
Made up for it with additions. I disagree.
You would not have, you would not meet your days.
Disagree with that point. I
You
filled
can,
out the state spreadsheet yesterday.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing though is for this year, this is fine.
That's not.
This is me.
Oh, he.
I will approve it, but.
Over objection, he is approving it.
Okay.
As I said, at the elementary level, the amount that occurs on half days is abysmal because there's, kids in class and I see both sides of it. But knowingly giving up basically 7 instructional days a year makes me grind my teeth.
So I think we can also have discussions around how to focus additional support for the students that are there on the half days.
Any community discussions on agenda items?
Thank you.
Yes.
Question about, we're growing population, we can mental transportation. And just students that are coming from households where a parent may live in one town or city nearby, and the other lives here, not having access to transportation. I don't know what monetarily it would work out to, but I wanted to ask about the consideration for a more robust program with CDTA. And I don't know if it's what it used to look like, if that's the right program, or if it's a deal for a ridership card for a student rate, or parents can have a student card for a whole high school rider card for a discounted rate, and not just for McKinney-Vento families, but for the families that we spend a lot of time talking to that don't have access to transportation, perhaps live with a single parent on the island. We had a frigid winter and a lot of kids just chose not to come to school. And, it's really hard to move our attendance throughout, really, really hard. So it's just, can we maybe really talk with CDTA or reimagine it? Does it need to be the same thing it was before? The data showed that didn't really, the data we had didn't really show that it did very much or improved overall attendance. But I know that there's a lot of families challenged with not having any way to get to school. And so with the rising bus and struggle flying busing now, is it a better plan to reopen and talk with CDTA about how we can improve that for all students? Because we also have a lot of students on the fly that become homeless or struggling with housing insecurity. And we need to have a quick, I think, plan put in place for a lot of those kids. So if they had that CDTA ridership, it would allow sort of instantaneous transportation for a lot of those families. So just food for thought as we struggle with transportation and struggle with money, as most districts do.
So I did have a meeting with CDTA earlier in the year, and it would be good to have a second meeting this time with some principals involved, because your students and your riderships. We were, looking at, is there any way, the routes have changed too over the years, and one of the last conversations was working with Katrina to really look at, our data coordinator, to really look at, the pockets of homes and the routes, and are there any, potential changes so that, with the existing routes. Also, I do know that, our McKinney-Vento liaison works with them on ridership cards. Are there ways that we can, advertise that more to our families? I know that Harmony Hill also had some questions, because in the past there was a route that dropped students off closer to Harmony Health. So we can reconvene with CDTA and continue those discussions. Yeah.
I think I was just saying to, Ms. Brock, I believe the one stop that was by the site, not removed.
Right,
That's when we stopped using them, and that would be a huge help.
to bring
to
back.
our parents, and to their kids.
Mhm.
If a bus could stop there again, sometimes discounted drive. That's follow up for ones and to follow up with them. And I don't know what the philosophy behind removing that stuff was. They don't know if it was strictly based on or using it, but that is a particular area.
Mrs. Marcel, you just bought yourself a seat at the meeting as well.
Okay, so any other discussion, agenda related items? Can I get a motion that the Board of Education adopt the following resolutions of the March 19th agenda, 6A through D and 7A through W?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Snyder? Gendron?
Yes.
Mrs. Paradis?
Yes.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
And Mrs. Geller?
Yes. Comments from Board of Education members not related to the agenda? I just preemptively wanted to discuss, we just approved the calendar for the school year. Our summer meetings are going to be coming up pretty quickly, so if you could reach out to Ashley and give out any dates that are absolutely not going to work for you, that would be great. So at least we can try to formulate a plan so that we have an empty seat at the moment, which could mean that we would have the potential of filling a seat in May. And so we want to make sure that our dates are kind of getting to a point where we know what they're going to look like. Also, want to put kind of on your schedule, thoughts of having a summer workshop for us to discuss our goals and potentially our data requests for this year so that we can actually get a template of when and what we're looking for, how often, and make sure that the entire board is in agreement that that's what we need. So just thoughts for future meetings, but also to just start planning and some of those reach out items. As I had mentioned to most of you, we are sending out calendar invites from Google. If you just click yes, no, that'll allow us to be able to know who's going to be at what events. The description in the bottom will also tell you where to go and who to see when you get there. So there should be no confusion this year about any of those pieces. Any comments from the audience about anything that is not related to the agenda? Okay. Dates for future meetings, April 9th and April 23rd, right here at Cohoes Middle School Library at 6 p.m. Can I get a motion to enter into exec session at 7:46 p.m. to discuss matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation, and to discuss the superintendent's evaluation, and to discuss negotiations with CSD?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder? Yes. Mrs. Gendron?
Yes.
Paradis?
Yes.
Mr. Droz?
Yes.
And Mrs. Geller?
Yes. We don't expect to come back, so thank you all for coming. We'll see you next time.